Is this visible?
Yes, yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. Am I audible? Okay. So there are so many printing processes we know, but in this session, I'm just going to introduce you to a few techniques which you can implement in different ways for graphic design, for different types of products, different types of materials. Mainly, it is based on the material exploration kind of processes, and these are all classical processes. I mean, these are happening since a very long time. And if you look at the history of print or printmaking, these are the initial processes where uh, you can see mass production in also design oriented fashion as well as fine art fashion. So there is a lot of design theories involved with these processes, as well as a lot of techniques like graphic design has come from these processes, like lithograph or screen print. So uh, there are few details about these processes which I am going to share with you. So uh, first process is called cyanotype printing. It is also called sun printing. Sun means uh, the planet sun, the 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 star sun, which you have UV rays is which it comes from, and then UV rays is get exposed. Then there is something called screen print. Screen print is also a silk screen called silk screen, and then silk screen is a stencil based printing process. Then there is something called uh, uh, cro- chlorophyll printing. So chlorophyll printing includes your leaves, and those leaves are getting exposed with the UV rays again. These cyanotype and chlorophyll printing are very similar to each other. And then there is something called lithograph. Now, both of these techniques, screen print and lithograph, they are initiators of the graphic design or graphic printing fraternity, or you can say skill. So we will start with cyanotype. So what is cyanotype? Cyanotype is a very basic printing process from which the blueprint terminology came. Blueprint means anything which you have as a sketch or as the first draft of that particular structure, and that is called blueprint. And then that blueprint terminology came from cyanotype printing. So cyanotype is a very initially it started for a botany. There was a scientist who wanted to document botanical specimens, and those specimens wanted to be he wanted to record and make an archive with those processes, with the specimens. And so he invented a technique including ferric ammonium citrate and potassium ferricyanide. So there is one element, potassium ferricyanide is a it's a photosensitive material, and then potassium ferricyanide is a photosensitive element, and ferric ammonium citrate uh, holds the uh, holds the color of it. So it includes so if you mix both of these chemical together, there is a photosensitive reaction happens on the surface, and that becomes your print. So this is how a cyanotype setup looks like. So there is something, this is the frame. You have some clamps attached to the frame. Then you need gloves and a beaker for mixing the cyanotype uh, chemicals. Then there are few brushes which are made of sponge, and these brushes are important to apply a very uniform kind of chemical on the surface. Maybe it can be paper or fabric. So initially, people used to have watercolor papers. Watercolor papers are very easy to produce cyanotype print because it holds a lot of chemical. Then these foam brushes, and then there are few, you need a glass to put on top of the frame. Then there are few leaves, because cyanotype is based on the initial uh, introduction of cyanotype was based on the leaf and botanical specimens. So that's why people use a lot of stencils and original specimens of leaves and structures and skeletons, uh, something like that. And yeah, you need a black bag also to cover up the paper from getting exposed. So you apply these chemicals, both of them together, and in same amount actually. And after mixing them, it becomes a photosensitive chemical. And then that photosensitive chemical you will have to apply. Uh, this is a this is the developing process. I'll just show you. So this is the application. You see here the application of the cyanotype chemical, and then there are few leaves which has been put on. Uh, Mainly, this is a photographic technique. A photographic technique means whatever you put on top of it as a flat surface, uh, which has geometry, planar geometry, and put a glass on top of it, and then you create a exposed surface. So you see wherever the leaf was, the entire surface has become white, and whatever is exposed has become yellow, has become blue. This is a cyanotype blue, and that's why it is called blueprint. This is a small process. You can ask me question if you want to in between. So there are few processes such as you can also put a tea in the mixture while developing. You can also put coffee in the mixture before you take a print and then develop. So you get different types of tonal ranges in the exposure, when you expose the film or when you expose the paper. This is a blueprint, one of the blueprints which is made with the use of a cyanotype process. Mainly when blueprint was invented, it was used for these kind of structures, and then later on it became democratized for people, and then they started using it for different purposes. These are few objects which are uh, like stencils and artworks which are made using cyanotype process. Cyanotype is a very easy to create. You can do a lot of material exploration with cyanotype. People have done cyanotype printing on stone, on walls, on huge surfaces like canvas, and uh, also t-shirts these days are very famous. Cyanotype t-shirts, you can print cyanotype t-shirts at home, and yeah, create interesting graphical identities out of cyanotypes. Yeah, so there are these merchandise, there are bed sheets also which are made in cyanotype. Yeah. If you want to ask anything about the discipline, you can ask. These chemicals are easily available on Amazon or easily available on any what you can say, a retail store of chemicals. You will get it. You will just need an approval because these are highly toxic chemicals. So that's why you also have to wear gloves while making this process. Okay, so another process which I'm going to show you is screen printing. In this entire session, I'm just going to introduce you to to the basic working process. Maybe in the next session, I will talk about the usage and advanced uh, what you can say, how to go in a detailed manner, that I can do in next session. But yeah, screen printing is a very famous and easily available around. Also, it is commercialized uh, process. So screen printing is also one of the planographic, such as cyanotype, because in cyanotype you use exposing as an element and then you create a stencil out of it. Here you make the stencil and then you expose the entire plate. So here you cannot use natural elements like cyanotype. You have to use a graphic which is made on computer to expose, and then you can make the screen. So screen printing is actually the fabric which is used in the frame. You can see there is this fabric. So this fabric, because of this fabric, it's called screen printing, and this is the fabric we call screen. And there are few layers of processes, because such as squeezy or blade, then there is ink, then there is screen, then your stencil or template, your vector, then your paper, and then your base. So there are lots of material involved in the process of screen printing. So also there are so many options available these days. If you want to do screen printing, there are PVA inks, there are inks which has oil as a base. If you can screen print on any material in modern screen printing processes. So screen printing is a very viable as well as a very easy to make process. You can sit at home. If you have 10 by 10 room, you can make at least 1,000 prints in a day. So it's very easy to produce or manufacture process, right? So this is a small, so this is a screen. Here the ink goes, and here the paper, and you have to just pull the squeezy, and then your print comes. Is this visible? So this is how you make the screen. So there is something called photo emulsion chemical, and that emulsion you have to apply evenly to the screen before you expose it. So this is actually a photosensitive material. So on this you have to apply a film, and then that film and your stencil will get merged together, and then it will be exposed in the UV rays. Those UV rays can be artificial, and also you can use the directly sunlight. So but sunlight is very what you can say, it is not preferred, because the intensity of sunlight can be vary. Otherwise, if you have a UV light, it's very easy to manufacture. So this is your stencil, which is made in any vector form. So you can make it in Corel Draw or Illustrator or any vector graphics software you are used to. And these sketches can be put up on a OHP sheet, and then OHP sheet will be placed on top of the surface of the screen, and then your preferred timing will, now the timing is again, it varies through whatever your graphics intensity is. This is a UV exposing machine. It has a UV light inside. Then it applies UV light on the surface evenly. And this is the exposed surface, exposed way. Like this is how you clean the screen before you do the printing. So once you see the yellow part is open and the green part is covered. Now you have to apply the ink on the surface. The tool which she is using, it's called squeezy. So that's how a screen printing process works. Screen printing can happen on fabric. These days, there are lots of textile brands are coming which are based on screen printing process. So there are a lot of innovations are happening. The PCB boards are also made in screen print. So technologically also screen print is getting very, very advanced. See, this is a screen, and this is the print which has come from the stencil itself. So there are various types of screen. So the fabric which you see here is also varies according to your usage. If you want to take a print on paper, then the different, like the micron of the fabric will be different. If you want to take screen print on a metal surface, then the micron intensity will be different. So it changes and it varies according to the surface. It is molded according to the surface. You see this. So the covered area which you see here, this area, is it is the closed area, and this is the open area. So ink passes through these open dots. This is a very high magnified photograph, so you can identify which area is covered and which area is not covered. So these are few famous examples of screen prints by Andy Warhol. He made the portrait of, he converted a photograph into a graphic and then created a screen print series out of it. And then there's this cannibal soup, tomato soup poster. Uh, the screen printing is also the way graphic design is placed in the history. Uh, the innovation of screen print is also one of the reasons why graphic design is becoming so much popular. Uh, so yeah, if you have any question, you can directly ask me in between, or you can raise your hand and then maybe I'll, I'll try to answer. So this is again a similar process such as cyanotype. So in cyanotype, what happens? You take the chemical, you apply the chemical on the surface, and you create a print out of it. You use the leaf as a stencil. Here, the leaf which has chlorophyll inside, we are using the chlorophyll directly from the leaf itself and putting the stencil on the leaf, and then making a print out of the leaf. So what happens? You just need a few leaves, like banana leaf is also there. Then there are leaves of pothos, and then spathiphyllum leaves which has chlorophyll in a very large amount. And these kind of leaves, they have the tendency, when they are exposed to the sunlight, uh, they can be the only their internal structure will be there, and the things like the covered area will be completely black. So that's how this kind of print is made up of. So the easy requirement of this kind of process is similar to what a cyanotype requires. There is a frame, and then frame has a glass placed inside, and then you have a OHP sheet or a negative of your photograph. You have to place that negative in the area where it can be in the contact with your chlorophyll element, and that is placed, and then after that your film, or you can say your leaf, is placed. But the timing of this print requires a lot of patience, because it happens in 2 or 3 days or maybe 4 days. So depending on to the quality of sunlight, this prints give you the output. If it is a very cloudy environment, it will take more than a week or so. Otherwise, if you have a very sunny environment, if you have very harsh sunlight, in 2 or 3 days, you can see the result. The only requirement of this discipline is you need to place the leaf in the contact with your sheet. If there is a small play in between, if there is a space, it will not cover the entire area. So that is one of the this is a very interesting part of printing, because in this you can also explore a different structures of leaves, as well as different shapes and forms of photograph. So, and this is very easily doable anywhere in the world you live. You just need sunlight and a glass plate. Yeah. So this is made on banana leaf, 10 hours exposure. Okay. It's a very interesting way to document things, but not so popular. Very rarely used because it requires a lot of time and patience. And fourth is lithograph. Lithograph is a very modern kind of technique. After 1800s, lithograph has become popular, and it is also one of the classical processes to document things, to take prints, to take multiple images out of one image. And if you know Raja Ravi Verma, he was one of the first users of lithography in India, and he made calendar art out of lithography. So lithography is a very interesting process to make a colorful image, or to reproduce colorful images in one surface. So using one surface, one single surface. So this is how lithography setup is. This lithography term lithography comes from this stone, which is a lithostone, which is limestone actually, and that limestone has pores, small, tiny little dots, which are absorbent to water, as well as absorbent to grease, repellent to water and absorbent to grease. So there is this litho stone in lithography is the basic element. Then there is a roller. A roller is a very essential part to apply ink on top of the surface of litho stone. The application of ink has to be uniform. That's why we use rollers. I think roller is one of the important elements in entire printing technology. Hello. Then you have brushes to apply gum arabic. Then you have litho pencils and litho chalk. Then you have inks which are inks used for offset printing. The same inks you can use for litho. Litho inks are not more different than the offset printing inks, but these inks are very greasy. They have oil as a base, linseed oil, or maybe sometimes it is also used. They have also used turpentine. Then there is sponge and a knife to scrape it off, to scrape the whatever is around the impurities on the stone. You will have to scrape it off. So this is how the lithography technique works. You see the third number, lithography. So it is a planographic printing. Planography means there is a flat plane, and on top of that you are making something, and that impression is printed on the paper. There is also something called letterpress, and then maybe these we can cover in the next session, such as intaglio. These are very difficult techniques to explain in a webinar, because it needs a intensive amount of practical approach. Also, lithography is also a very practical subject, but I'm trying to sum it up in a PPT or in a visual way, right? So these are the lithographs, the first kind of lithographs which are made, and then after this graphic design as a discipline, or as a art came into the picture or into the history. So these are made by Henrietta Toulouse Lautrec. He was the first graphic designer, and he used intensively lithographic technique. He used colors and different patches of vibrant colors to create lithographs. So the interesting part of lithography is whatever you make on the stone, it has to be made like while making it has to be in invert. So a reverse image you have to create on the surface of the stone. So when you will print that image on your paper, it will be rightly aligned, like the proper surface area you see. So this is how a lithographic stone is made up of. I have a small video of it. I can just explain that. Yeah.
Lithography is a planographic process. That is, the printed area is neither cut into a plate like an intaglio or raised as in relief. It is a fairly modern printing technique developed in the early 19th century. The essential principle of lithography is that water repels the oil in ink. The limestone must be prepared by grinding off the surface, which levels the stone and opens the grain. The image is drawn directly on the stone with crayons or wet media called touche. A solution of gum arabic and nitric acid is spread on the surface of the stone. This seals the oils in the crayon and touche into the stone and also opens the pores in the blank areas. Then the drawing is washed out. Next, the stone is inked with a leather roller. The stone is kept damp so that water fills the open pores. The ink is repelled from the wet sections, but is accepted on the etched areas. The paper is placed face down on the stone and pulled through the press. The ink is transferred to the paper.
Yes. So this is how lithographic stones are kept in a storage, and all these stones are very heavy. And there are lithographic stones are like this storage is by, I think, Oxford, and they are collecting lithographic stones since 16th start of the 16th or 15th century. And it was a very ancient technique, but initially after 1800s and 1900s, it has got a lot of fame in art as well as in a graphic design world. So yeah, if you have any question about any of these processes, you can ask me, and as well as if you know anything more, you can share. Hello? Am I audible? Okay. So I guess this is it. Anybody wants to share anything? Anybody wants to talk? Maybe in the next session, I can include how to practically use all the all the processes in the things which we have included. Sir, cyanotype is a sim to bleach print. Yes, it is a very similar process to bleach print, but the chemicals does not give you that accurate amount of printing in bleach print. It's very unpredictable. In cyanotype, you can control the timing, you can control the exposure. It's a very sophisticated medium uh, to imprint things onto the surface. Also, bleach is very limited to specific materials. Cyanotype is the umbrella of cyanotype is very vast. So you can make it on, like, you can use it on glass. You can also use it on walls. You can also use it on fabric, on your t-shirts, on your tote bags, bed sheets, pillow covers. So the area of cyanotype is a little vast. Thank you so much. So if you haven't visited the campus of Pune Design School, I would insist you all to visit, and we are all doing the sessions of screen printing.
Yes. Conclude this wonderful. If you have any questions, you can write to Nachiket sir. Nachiket sir, thank you so much for throwing light on the printing processes. It's very integral part of design learning. Hopefully, we are executing a couple of studios and couple of design practices, printing practices in our studios, in our Pune Design School studios. And maybe in the next section, we can elaborate on the further processes of that or the detailing of the different techniques. So thank you so much, everyone. And thank you, coordinators of PCU for arranging this wonderful webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.